Hello everybody, James here again. I've got another OnePageRules video for you. So I mentioned in the last video that you could create units. I actually decided to just pay for the Patreon. It's a pretty measly sum. So I just bought it. And basically just so I could get hold of those rules. Um, and I'm quite surprised. It's not laid out the way that I thought it would be, that's for certain. But that's not really a criticism. Um, not how I would have done it, but it certainly works. So, um, I wanted to see like how long it would take me to create a new unit um, for the Havoc Brothers or um, the regular brothers. Um, and Yeah, it didn't take too long, all things considered. I took a lot of shortcuts. Like I didn't actually read through the entire document. I saw how it's generally laid out, and then use the URL unit creator to do all of the heavy lifting, all of the actual calculations for me. So this is based off of the 1.25 um, online calculator, um, but that should match whatever's in the actual PDF. So I took some inspiration from the dwarf list that is for the Mantic armies because I knew that there was a artillery piece that is very similar. So I went to that to actually see how it's laid out, and the main takeaway that I actually took from it was that it was slow and it had tough 6, which is pretty much as I expected. You know, it is a light vehicle essentially. It's on tracks. It can't go fast, so obviously it's going to have slow. Now, that base, along with the quad heavy machine gun, actually came out pretty expensive. When you added on the quality 3 and the defense 2 that Havoc Brothers have. Now, I wanted to take that down a bit. It ended up being, I believe, 220 points. And for a single model, I thought that was pretty bad. Especially when it came to the upgrades. So it was like plus 85 points to get the quad las cannon. And that, you know, 305 points ended up being pretty ridiculous. So I set about finding ways to reduce the cost that made sense. The first thing that I did is I took it down to quality 4. And the reason I did that is because if we go by things like the Cromlech heavy weapons platform, which is actually what we're basing this off of. So this is the Cromlech heavy weapon platform with the quad heavy machine gun. Then I basically imagine this as like an unmanned, like AI controlled gun platform. Okay, so reducing the quality made a lot of sense, and that gained me back a lot of points. The second thing that I did is actually in preparation for the proposed changes to the army lists, namely taking the marine equivalent armies from defense 2 to defense 3. So I just did that. and reduced it even further until I got to a nice 160 points. So essentially, you know, we take this. I plan on putting them on 160 mil bases. So 60 mil bases. This was initially intended to have crew members on the same base. So I might reduce this down to 50. I will double check those sizes. But 60 mil, it means that it won't go over the sides, and it's not going to get in the way of like base-to-base contact, which is something that I really want. I don't like having like base models go up against unbase models. So, but that's not part of the point adjustments in any way. It's just a preference on small vehicle type models. So, yeah, the initial stat line is now looking pretty good. You know, quality 4, defense 3, slow, tough 6 with a 36-inch, 12 attack AP1 weapon. Nice little bundle. But I did want a way to add in a manned option, which was my initial intent. Which is where the upgrade with line came into effect with manned crew. These are essentially 2 models that you would just have within unit coherency. They would not have weapons, but they do count for tough, essentially. So they don't class as like a 3-man unit. It is literally just get something to represent 2 models, and it gives toughness, so +2 toughness to the model, because I found that in most situations, anytime you needed to represent extra models, it would be classed in toughness some way for the unit as a whole. So this is a nice go-between. And I couldn't see any easy way of just saying like, this is now a 3-man unit. Ended up being too complicated, so it's still considered one model with like this little attachment. And in addition to the toughness, it also gives +1 to the quality. In total, that ends up being a +70 point increase if you decide to take it. And either one of those options, so +1 quality or the +2 toughness, is actually 35 points each. So that ended up being a nice, like if you like one of them but don't like the other, feel free to take that into consideration. But the cost of the weapons is based off of the additional quality and toughness, which is another stipulation that is in the PDF that you read. It does say that if there is going to be varying points costs between the stat lines, to always use the most expensive option, which is what I've done. So the weapon upgrades, though, are relatively easy to calculate. I've decided on 2 different weapon profiles. However, the Cromlech models actually have, I believe, 9 variations if you want to go through all of that trouble. I've decided the 3 most likely to be used, which is obviously the the quad heavy machine gun, the quad laser cannon, and the quad mortar. The quad laser cannon is going to end up being an 80-point upgrade, 48-inch range, 4 attacks, AP4, and deadly 3. However, again, I believe there is like a revision of the stat line coming up. I'm just using the ones that is there now, because I don't know of any point in increases or decreases associated with the stat change. So yeah, I don't want to complicate matters. And then the other one, as I said, is the quad mortar, 48-inch, 4 attacks, blast 3, indirect, and rending. If you wanted to get indirect and rending at the cost of 1 AP, that is a 70-point increase. Now I'm actually going to put this on the forum as well, as an actual PDF. It's going to be bundled with a couple of other additional units and upgrades to Havoc Brothers specifically. And yeah, I think that's pretty much describes that process. All in all, it probably took me about 2 hours or so on and off, but that obviously included, you know, skimming through the PDF and going through all of the options, browsing Cromlech's website for all of the different options that they had and deciding what I wanted to focus on. The next unit I imagine would take not nearly as long now that I know the process. And all in all, I am super impressed with how easy this was. And, you know, I cannot wait to show this to people. There is a potential club that I can go to in the near future. Something I've been restricted to for quite some time. And I know that they already play 40k, so I'm hoping to broach this OnePageRules setup. And the idea that they can legally homebrew anything they want I think is going to be quite the draw. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Have a good day. Bye bye.